What's up, everybody? Hello, world, as my friend Dizzle would say. Welcome to D&D Beyond. I am being joined by a fellow spitting quarterstaffs in the woods enthusiast, Gabe Hicks
That's
himself.
true.
Hey, dude, welcome.
I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to talk about my horrifying monster of a character and just general D&D stuff.
I absolutely love this. So this is another character tour. This is when we got to go in depth with your builds and your goals, like mechanically, role playing wise, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Today is a special one because this Friday we will be streaming a very special benefit for. It's another edition of Streaming for Survivors, Level 20 D&D, DM'd by our good friend B. Dave Walters, which you will be a part of. And today we will be touring the character that you will be unleashing on the table. So I'm super excited about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I'm
This
I'm
is going to
pumped.
be super good. We have, if you want to just go ahead and start donating for Streaming for Survivors, we have that link going up in chat. If you want to take a look at Gabe's character sheet while we're going through it together, that link is also dropping. So, my friend, let's dig into this. Let's just get into the basics. Who is this character? Introduce them to me. Name, class, race. What's the top line?
Yep. So this is Apep, who is a variant human monk, monk all the way level 1 to 20. If you know the name Apep, Apep is the name of an Egyptian figure of mythology, the ancient Egyptian demon of chaos that was in the form of a serpent. So I was like, if I'm going to go all out, I'm going to go all out. So you can probably guess this is a monk that is using the dragon subclass from Fizzbands. And part of the reason that I went variant human because I was like, you know what? I am going to lean into function. I don't care as much about stats. I just want them to do the thing that I want to do really, really well. So as a monk, the first feat that I took off of being a variant human was mobile because I wanted them to be fast. I wanted them to be able to
Hmm.
hit, and I wanted them to be able to get in and out. Um,
So I think right there from that first feat, we sort of like see the assignment. You want,
yeah,
I guess, kind of goal wise, from a mechanics point of view, you just want a specialist that can kind of get in,
yeah,
get the job done. Um, so okay, you've given us a lot right there. A
yeah,
reincarnated god of chaos.
yep,
Um, so give me your let's talk goals from what are you
yeah.
hoping to bring from like a role play perspective, a mechanics perspective once the initiative gets rolled. Let's dig in.
Roleplay, I wanted in a lot of fantasy, humans are definitely like treated as like, okay, they're humans. Maybe they can do something, but they're not treated as like the strongest. So I wanted to make a human that like visually might be someone you underestimate, and then they basically
Hmm.
just tear into your soul. Um I wanted that figure that you look at the rest of the party, so you see this massive raging barbarian with wings or something. You see the elf that is floating magic all around their body, and you see this human who's kind of just like hopping like Goku style, and it's like I don't know why they're there. I wanted that figure that when the fight starts, there is a total switch. This person moves like a lightning bolt, and they strike as fast as you wouldn't believe. They literally strike with the full force of like a demonic serpent. That was the role play that I wanted. And I wanted the character that um I wanted him to be a human as well because I wanted to be like I want this human to have worked their like butt off to prove how powerful they could be. In the face of Goliaths and Asimir and Yanti, I wanted them to be like, oh no, like I can stand with the greatest of them and then make them kneel before me with one kick.
I think that is awesome. And so, kicking that off, you pick
Yeah.
mobile as a feat.
Yep.
So, I like this to also be well. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I try to be like, we also want to like educate people who are building a character for the first time. I
Mhm.
know very little about monks. I never DM for monks. In
Come
fact,
on in.
I did once, and it was for a Jasper's game, and it was my first time. And the first time our monk did something, they asked me a question about how does this work, and I was like, let me consult D&D Beyond because I have
Mhm.
absolutely no clue. So let's kick off with why mobile, and then sort of let's talk
Yep.
about what works into this build to becoming this like underestimated dude that's just going to switch it on him.
Absolutely. So right off the bat, mobile increases your movement speed by 10 feet base. Then you can
Mhm.
use the dash action. So difficult terrain doesn't cost you extra movement, which is great. You could literally move through anything that is trying to restrict your movement. And when you're a monk, when you're trying to be speedy, that is a huge boon. And one of the most important things is that if you make a melee attack against a creature, you don't provoke attack of opportunity attacks from that creature for the rest of the turn, even if you don't hit. Which means if I'm faster and I run in, I beat the hell out of them as a monk, and I get away, they do not get a chance to strike back. And if there's other people in combat, then I can leave them to fight that. One of the nicest things is mobile is really nice in instances where you're worried about someone with sentinel.
Good call. Really, really good call.
Yeah.
And so variant humans get that feat. So I'm
Yep.
assuming that's kind of why we went variant human mechanically, but
Yes.
then also thematically, they're
Exactly.
a variant human because they have an Egyptian chaos god in their brain, which I love. So,
So
um,
part of even in a narrative sense, what I ended up going with that is I love the concept of Tiamat and I love the concept of Bahamut.
mhm.
I don't get enough relation to Io that is the parent of both. So I wanted the idea of like a figure who wanted to be a third child. So he worked to become like an adopted child and like treat Bahamut and Tiamat as siblings.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
and pro tip: um, when your DM is like, I don't know if I should let you have that, have something that interesting and well prepared to back it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, here's the why. Here's why I want to do it. Um, so okay, you said so two
Mhm.
interesting things. You told me before we jumped into this that this character was going to be
Mhm.
broken and mean.
Yes.
Um, so I want to dig into that, but I also want to
Mhm.
dig into. I feel like a lot of like level 20 characters, people really take the opportunity to multi-class.
Mhm.
At the last stream for survivors, Brennan multi-classed this nightmare, just this
Mhm.
hodgepodge of a Harengon that was just absolutely nuts. So, what
Mhm.
about um, the monk class and just taking this Way of the Dragon monk to level 20 made
Yeah.
it broken and mean for you?
Um, I wanted my class to be what I built up their equipment and like feats around, actually. So
Okay.
monks are like monks' fists and unarmed strikes become magical weapons. So even just looking at like monk feats, unarmed defense, I wanted them to not have to wear armor, like narratively and mechanically. That is a great bonus
Mhm.
because I had rolled really freaking well. I had gotten 2 18s in my rolls, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to make them a problem. I'm just going to throw that into Dex and Wisdom, and then bump that up. The other reason that I like multi-classing, or the other reason I like going with one straight class, is because then I always get the ability score increase, the ability score adjustment, or the feat. With multi-classing, you kind of restrict yourself to you're probably going to miss out on one of those if you're building a high level character, which isn't necessarily a
Mhm.
bad thing, but I wanted that to be just as important as the monk class. I wanted the monk class to be half of what made this character who they were. And the other half was just optional choices that are literal abilities and things that I can pull from it. I get 20 key points at level 20, which is horrifying because you can do a whole bunch of things with a bonus action. At level 20, if you have no key points when initiative starts, I think you gain 4 if I remember off the top of my head. Um, you can spend key points to turn invisible. You can spend key points to like grab, like to deflect missiles. And something that's fun is if you're a high level monk and you deflect missiles, you can probably deflect a ballista bolt. You can probably
Yeah.
deflect a trebuchet. it just becomes a problem. You still have Stunning Strike. So with 20 key points and this high level, my con save DC is 19. So if I get 5
Yep,
attacks, 2 attacks with my regular attack action, and then Flurry of Bows bonus action, that is 5 attacks. I can get 5 attempts at a Stunning Strike.
that's amazing. And
Yeah.
for people who are like, and why is that cool? So when you hit um, with a melee weapon attack, you can spend
Yep.
1 key point to make the target stunned until the end of your next turn if it
Yep.
fails a con saving throw. So you've made this zippy monster that can get in, stun someone, take
Yep.
several turns stunning someone if need be, and
Yep.
get out, which is just
Yep.
a really cool piece of battlefield control for the party.
I'm excited.
That
What
Yeah, no,
else?
that is very very slick. Yeah. So what else about Monk kind of cost you, especially from Fizzbands, the Way of the Dragon Monk? Is there
Yeah.
anything there that you were like, it has to be this subclass?
The what there was one type of movement. So Wings Unfurled. Um, when you use Step of the Wind, so a bonus action lets you dash as a monk natively, if you spend a key
Hmm.
point. And you can use Step of the Wind, which is that bonus action. You can unfurl Draconic Wings that grant you a flying speed equal to your walking speed. So me raising my walking speed means that I actually raised my flying speed as well. And something that I will add into this with this character, B Dave let us pick a few special items, few magical items. Wings
Let's get into them.
Unfurled combined with Boots of Speed, which doubles my movement speed for 10 minutes, means that I would now have a flying speed of 140 feet for
Oh,
10
yep.
minutes, basically.
Okay. Yeah, broken and mean.
Yep. And that is just my normal movement speed. If I step of the wind, technically, that is 140 feet plus 140 feet. So that is 280 feet as a flying speed.
Which is insane. Absolutely.
I
Okay, so
want to be
this
a
now,
monster.
yeah, yeah, you are, and you have succeeded. So now we're sort of really starting to paint a clear picture, because you kind of, you were like, the goal is to, I want half of what makes this great to be the monk, and then I sort of want this
Yeah.
also to be an exercise in inventory.
Yeah.
And like you said, B Dave has made a horrible mistake and gave you a lot of leeway with magical
It, get,
items. So
it gets
let's stay
worse.
on the shopping cart. Okay, yeah,
Ooh,
let's get
okay.
worse.
So the second one that I'm gonna leave I'm gonna leave the one that I know you see at the top there for last because that is a
Okay,
horrifying
okay,
monster. I went a movable rod. I went a movable rod because I didn't care about
oh fun.
purpose. I wanted the idea of like you put the immovable rod behind your enemy and you just keep kind of like elbowing them in the head and they have nowhere to go because the immovable rod just stuck them in place. That was 100% why I had picked it.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you for being vindictive. Uh,
Absolutely.
I like that quite a bit. Also, underrated item, I think. Um,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Immovable rod. I
There's
very rarely think about it.
okay, I'm gonna can I test your magic item knowledge? Because I can't remember it either.
It's going to be embarrassing, but let's go.
That's fine. What there's a magic item that is like a Russian nesting doll where like you can put people inside of it. Rod of security.
Oh,
Rod of security.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like a big Pokeball. We just did uh we just covered it in our article about best magical items for fighters.
Yep.
Um, really
The
good
only thing I
radio
will
right now.
say,
Keep talking, and I'll bring it up.
if you trick people into well, okay, if you use magic that affects their minds and then get them to willingly go in the rod of security, you can then technically put that rod of security inside of another rod of security inside of another rod of security. and time doesn't pass because there's no creatures inside of it until they pop out of the first one.
Yep.
So they
Yep.
could be in there for a year. And technically, if you made the next level of rod security look like the material plane, they actually might not realize. But I almost did that, but I decided outside of that, um, I wanted to look at other magic items that existed in D&D, and one of the books that is entirely slept on is Hoard of the Dragon Queen. Now, we were allowed to pick a ridiculously powerful magical item, uh, which could be legendary or artifact. I've often picked the Hand and Eye of Vecna because it's fun, but I decided to pick
Mhm.
a different god this time. I picked the Mask of the Dragon Queen. Now, there's a blue dragon mask, a red dragon mask, a white dragon mask, a green dragon mask, and did I say red? I don't know. There is a dragon mask for each of
Yeah.
the like chromatic colors. They
Mhm.
combine together to become the artifact that is the Mask of the Dragon Queen. I'm going to read out to you what that does. Generally, a dragon mask gives you resistance to that damage type based
Mhm.
on the color. The combined dragon mask gives you resistance to all of them. When you're wearing no armor, you add your charisma bonus to your armor class. And monks don't wear armor. Uh,
Armor.
if you have a breath weapon that requires rest to recharge, it gains a recharge of 6. Monks that are dragon monks get a breath weapon, and it runs out after spending key points, but this makes it recharge on a 6. um, dark vision, additional dark vision, and then you can gain blind sight. Speak, understand draconic, and then you get a legendary resistance per day. If you're wearing uh, the dragon queen mask, you get 5 legendary resistances per day. I wanted this character to be a problem. Now, with damage absorption, it gets really messy because if you already have resistance, you gain immunity. As a dragon monk, I can, as a reaction, spend a key point to gain resistance to acid, fire, lightning, cold, or poison, turning my resistance from the dragon mask into an immunity as a dragon monk based on any of those elements.
I absolutely adore this. This is honestly, this is such just like a really cool masterclass in
Yeah.
um, uh, picking magical items that are really going to speak to your character,
Yeah.
beyond just like whereas I feel like I would be very surface and I would just be like, I'm a
Yep.
fighter and this sword gives me a +2 and that's good enough for
And
me. uh I
part
yeah,
of the
no, I
fun
love
is
this
like this
approach.
this would be a great villain. Like in any campaign of mine that I ran after this, this would be a great villain. Um
I mean, who knows what happens on Friday? Maybe you just turn on everyone. I don't know. I'm not telling
yeah.
you what to do.
Yeah. Hey.
it
And
could, it could
so like
happen.
in the Fizzbands book, something that was really cool was there were the Draconic Gifts.
Hmm.
Um so let's see. There was oh gosh, I really am a problem. So like Gift of the Chromatic Dragon also is like reactive resistance to give yourself resistance to a type of damage. So I could technically heal myself, but I'm not going to do that. Because if so with the Dragon Mask, this is why it's a problem. Dragon Mask is if you have resistance, you gain immunity. If you have immunity, you can gain healing based on that damage. It has a 3-step
Right.
track to it. So taking the gift of the chromatic dragon, leaning into like being a Tiamat's like younger brother, can take resistance to that, gain them back on a long rest. Then there's also gift of the metallic dragon. I can use a reaction to grant a +6 to a target's AC or myself. So I could technically give myself an AC of 29 for a turn if I really wanted to as a reaction. I don't know. We'll see if it happens.
Well, let's stay on these feats though, because I think it's kind of interesting. So also, Eldritch Adept, I think is
Yes.
really interesting. So what is the what's the Warlock tie-in? What are you trying to do?
The Warlock tie-in is that I think is where they were trying to the idea of like being on par with these gods and these other draconic
Mhm.
deities, not taking an investment in the warlock class, but an investment in the warlock nature. And so Eldritch Adept was
Hmm.
like, what would be something cool for this character? Well, a dragon can basically sense magic. So if I take that feat to then get Eldritch Sight, so I can just detect magic at will, that feels so right for who I wanted this character to be. They can see where the magical items are in a horde. They can sense it. They can see who the magical figure is out in the crowd. They can basically smell it, that kind of thing.
Love that. That
And
is
so
super super fun.
we'll even go down. I went like Fey touched
Yeah.
wisdom. I like the idea of
Hmm.
a monk that went to the Fey Wild to train. They didn't necessarily go to stay or do as much, but they went there to gain something. And I went with Misty Step because the idea of them just teleporting behind someone and kicking the heck out of them is hilarious to me. That one was just for me because it was funny. Um, but Hunter's Mark
I just
was
love
because
the meta of you don't need to teleport at all just because of all the movement you got.
yep.
That's just that's just you being a jerk. I appreciate
Absolutely. But at
it.
the hunter's mark, I wanted them to be able to track their target to the ends of the earth because I like because Apep can move so fast. I want them to get like 3 miles and think they're safe, and then hi.
Yes, yeah, which is great. Again, you're sort of this, especially tying in the warlock and everything, like from a
Yeah,
flavor point of view and from a roleplay point of view. Yeah, this like,
yeah,
um, this dragon touched, wannabe god. I think all
yep,
of this flavors that concept so well. Like it's
yeah.
just all built so smartly. This is really really
There-
really cool.
There's so much
Um,
weird stuff. I think there's I have melee weapons. I'll probably even use my melee weapons at first. Like anyone who's watching this will know that I'm doing it just to be a jerk, like play into the fact like maybe I'm a Kensei or something, but then like he'll get bored eventually and stop playing with them and drop the short sword and then literally just shoot out a breath of flame that I think at level 20 is 4d 10 for a breath weapon. No, it's 3d10, excuse me. Uh which is also horrifying.
yeah,
I'm a monster.
and with 6 times per long rest, which is sweet. And
Yep.
then you can recharge with 2 key points. And how many key points do you have again? Let's just remind the
I have
audience.
20.
So you're
20.
set. You're fine.
Yeah.
Um, so Abria has me in a combos mood, and I feel like also
Mhm.
you have created a Tekken character.
Yeah, 100%.
So uh, let's talk. Not to give too many tricks away.
Mhm.
I don't know if Bedave is scouting, but let's
Good. I
talk.
hope so.
Like, are there combos you're looking at? Like, oh man, like once I get in, I want to do X, Y, Z.
So actually there kind of are. I definitely like so definitely what I'm probably going to start with is I'm probably going to get into melee and lean into that bonus where I can grant myself that extra 6 to my AC. Just so
Mhm.
Gabe can get like a narrative gauge of like how deadly is this figure. Um and I'm going to definitely use my party members as fodder because Apep definitely has used people around him to see how deadly a creature can be in mass. A lot of beasts can expend some sort of danger in a distance. So this combo is more of like a narrative planning. It is standing next to creatures so that an enemy will try to use some sort of element, so then Apep prepares the combo after that. If like this thing is shooting acid in blows and thralls, Apep will already have resistance. Then he'll use the bonus action to get immunity and the reaction to make it heal himself after he's taken damage. But let it flow into that path for a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of like if Vision was also a dragon possessed ninja. Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
100%, 100%. Um, Also, I can't be what was something else? I was thinking of something else that was absolutely abominable. The dragon mask is one of my favorite things, and I'm just here to cause problems.
Yeah.
Oh, um, so with the dragon type figure, I can actually augment my attacks to be based on different elements. With the dragon subclass, the dragon mask provides the ability to have different effects that happen depending on what type of element you deal. So in this combo sense, combining the mask with the dragon monk, if I deal lightning damage to a creature, it can't take reactions. If I deal fire damage to a creature, it starts burning. And if I have less than my max hit points and I deal cold, I deal an extra 1d8 cold damage to creatures. So then the idea is if I see this thing start causing problems, Apep is going to like ignite his fist with lightning and then start just punching it as much as he can, because then it can't take reactions until its next turn. It'll probably have legendary actions, but
Hmm.
unless it says in the rules, I don't know if legendary reactions can be used if you can't use reactions.
Well, what I like about this too is like you haven't. I mean, you've made a bruiser. Let's
Yeah.
be very clear. But you've also like made like a really kind of cool chess piece for like controlling the board and like
And
really kind of
that's
controlling enemies
fun.
and corralling. Yeah,
'Cause I didn't
yeah.
want them
No,
to
this.
be someone that could I didn't want them to be the character that could take out the big bad by themselves. I wanted them to be
Hmm.
the character that could be the only one that survives.
I like this. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, I think that's the thesis, right? Like you kind of
Yeah.
summed it up. Like I want this needs to be the last dude standing, and I think
Yep.
you've definitely built that guy, which is completely cool. Is there anything else? Just like I mean, even customizations on your sheet. Look, I
Mhm.
renamed a backpack. Just anything that you're like this before we get out of here. This is stuff I really want to show off. This is something I'm proud of.
I like figuring out ways that I can use, like, the D&D equipment, just base equipment in fun, unique ways. And there's something really horrifying about someone who can like pour 3 flasks of oil on themselves and then just light a torch on themselves and ignite themselves in fire and then just springs into a fight like that. Because if he's immune to fire damage, then he is just a flaming like fireball. He's a fireball going at 140 feet per 6 seconds. Technically, he's a fireball going at 280 feet every 6 seconds.
You're such a jerk.
And then the thing is, I can, like, narratively, I can do a breath weapon of fire, so it seems like he's actually just a fireball. And with mobile, I can literally go up to them, breath weapon, and like go past them and try to convince people that he's just like a fireball and not an actual person.
Amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous. Okay, broken and mean. That was the
Yeah.
statement. I think
Absolutely.
I yeah, I feel like you're there. Uh, for we're gonna port this to YouTube purposes. This is the part of the show where I do a fake goodbye, and then we transition to Q&A that you missed if you weren't watching us on Twitch, which you can at D&D Beyond's Twitch channel. Gabe, thank you so much for hanging out, previewing this monstrosity a little bit for
I'm
Friday
so
streaming for Survivor
excited.
stream. It's going to
Yeah,
be a good one. I think
my
this one feels well timed, well needed. So I'm stoked everybody's getting together to do this, and thank
I,
you all, of course, for your support, your interest, tuning in, all that good
I want
stuff.
to say,
And
I
we'll
want to
see.
say,
Yes,
if you're ever worried about making a character, if you're ever worried about how to make a big bad, just make an overpowered character and then tone them down. Because with the amount of items and like features in these books, this is all stuff that just exists in Dungeons and Dragons now. And Horde of the Dragon Queen is not a new book. It's not an old book, but it's not a new one. But I have never seen someone pull out the Mask of the Dragon Queen. And this is one of the meanest things I've ever seen.
I love that, and that's amazing advice too on villain building.
Yeah.
Just build up that level 20 character. That is fantastic advice on doing that. Gabe, thank you, dude. Where can people find you online?
You can find me all across the internet at Gabe James Games, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. I do maybe not too much, but just enough that it keeps me busy.
I very much like that description.
Yep.
Thanks, man. And now we will do our fake transition into the end of this video. We'll see y'all next
Bye.
time on D&D Beyond. Thanks for watching.